Welcome. You ever have one of those moments where the world just tilts a little? Or something you always thought was real suddenly looks like a stage, like a carefully built set? Well, today we are pulling back that curtain. We're going to look at the systems that shape our reality, from what we want in life all the way down to our own biology. Because here's the thing, once you see the architecture, you can never, ever unsee it.
So let's just start with this idea right here. It's a heavy one, I know. It's asking us to think about something pretty radical. What if all the systems we're told are there to help us, to educate us, to improve us? What if they're actually doing the exact opposite? What if it's all just some kind of life force harvesting? It's a really provocative way to start, and it perfectly sets the stage for us to take a hard look at the scripts we're all handed the day we're born.
So, where do we even begin to peel back all these layers? Well, let's start with something super personal, the whole promise of self improvement. You know the idea that you can unlock your ultimate potential, be the best you, if you just learn the right tricks from the right person. This is the world of the guru, the coach, that charismatic leader who says they hold the keys to your success. And right at the heart of this whole modern self help movement is a tool called neuro linguistic programming, or NLP for short. And you've probably heard of its most famous user, Tony Robbins. He actually trained under one of its co founders. The whole idea behind NLP is to give you the power to literally reprogram your own mind for success. Sounds great, right?
Okay, but this is where we hit a massive disconnect. On the one hand, you've got the promise of NLP, which is pretty amazing. It says you can basically reverse engineer genius, bottle up the magic of legendary therapists, and make it available to anyone. But then, on the other hand, you have the scientific community, and they've got a very different take. They pretty much call it pseudoscience, saying it has no real proof, no empirical support. And this right here, this is our first real glimpse of the gap between a really compelling story and what might be verifiable reality.
Now, when you see a gap that big between the promise and the reality, it helps to have some tools to figure out what's going on. So here's a concept you're going to want to keep in your back pocket: mala fides. It's a fancy term for arguing in bad faith. It's when someone uses an argument that they themselves know isn't true, maybe to convince you of something or to sell you something. Just keep that idea in mind as we go.
And that brings us to some pretty troubling firsthand accounts. Sources from Reddit describe these events where the environment seems designed to throw you off balance. We're talking controlling sleep with crazy schedules, blasting cold air into the rooms, messing with meal times, all things that can make people way more suggestible. Some people have even described scenes that feel less like a seminar and more like a cult. It definitely raises some serious questions about the methods being used.
So here's the crucial question. If one person can supposedly program an entire audience in a ballroom, what happens when an entire society gets programmed? Let's zoom out. Let's move away from the single guru and look at the huge systems we're all born into. These are the programs that are just running silently in the background of our entire culture.
This one really makes you stop and think. We're always talking about how our education system is broken and how we need to fix it. But what if it's not broken at all? What if it's working perfectly, but it was designed to do something we don't realize, to create compliant factory workers who follow orders, not creative, independent thinkers? This suggests that the programming starts way, way before we ever even think about buying a self-help book.
So this leads to a pretty wild question, doesn't it? How deep does this programming actually go? Are our thoughts, our beliefs, maybe even our core sense of who we are? Is it all just software running on hardware we didn't choose? An operating system that was installed so early on we just assume it's us? And once you start to entertain that idea, it gets really hard to look at the world the same way ever again. Okay, get ready for a hard left turn. We've been talking about psychological and social programming. That's the software, right? But what if the code runs even deeper than that? What if there are actual biological forces at play influencing us from a level we can't even see? What if the hardware itself is being messed with? We're about to dive into two powerful and totally different theories about these unseen forces that could be pulling the strings on our health, our thoughts, and even our actions, all from the inside out. So check this out. On one side, you have fungi, which mycologist Paul Stamets calls Earth's natural internet. And get this, we share over half our DNA with them. It's crazy. Their massive underground networks, called mycelium, look almost exactly like the neural pathways in our own brains. Then, on the other side, you have this much darker theory that parasites are humanity's hidden master, influencing our behavior and maybe even being spread on purpose to keep us under control. Two invisible kingdoms potentially at war for influence right inside our bodies.
Okay, so when you start talking about wild ideas like these, a really common way to shut the conversation down is with what's called an ad hominem attack. It's another logical fallacy. It's when someone attacks the person making the argument instead of, the actual argument. As we explore this stuff, it's so important to just look at the information itself, no matter who's saying it. All right, we've looked at programming on a personal level, a societal level, and even a biological level. So the big question is, can the code be broken? Can we actually reboot our own system? Well, the answer might be in our brain's incredible ability to literally rewire itself.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. There's this concept called neurogenesis. It's the brain's ability to grow new neural connections. It offers a way out of the old programming. And according to researchers like Paul Stamets, one of the most powerful tools we have to kickstart that process is psilocybin, the compound you find in certain kinds of mushrooms.
Just look at this. This slide is staggering. On the left, you've got a brain on a placebo. That's a normal brain with its usual pathways. But on the right, whoa, that's a brain on psilocybin. The number of connections just explodes. It's not just more lines. They're thicker, more robust. It's like a superhighway of new thought just lit up. This is a picture of a brain breaking out of its old ruts and creating a storm of new possibilities. This is what rewiring can literally look like. And look, this isn't just a theory. Paul Stamets himself is a powerful case study. He had a really bad stutter his entire life. Then one day, during a very intense psilocybin experience, he climbs a tree in the middle of a thunderstorm and just starts repeating to himself, over and over, "Stop stuttering now." And the next day, his stutter was gone, for good. He believes he literally reset the stuck neurological loop in his brain. He broke his own code.
Man, we have been on quite a journey. From the slick scripts of gurus to the ancient code of fungi and even the possibility of a full-on neurological reboot. So what does it all mean for us? What happens after you've seen the program?
We've looked at these systems of control, the ones we can see and the ones we can't, from the guy on stage all the way down to the code in our DNA. The main idea here is that we might be living inside all these layers of programming. But, and this is the important part, we've also seen that there might be keys to rewrite that code and take back the controls.
And this is the real takeaway, isn't it? It's like seeing the code in the Matrix. Once you see the patterns, once you see the scripts and the systems that are running everything, the illusion just shatters. The world just doesn't look the same anymore, and you can't unsee it. That knowledge is irreversible.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. After pulling back the curtain, after seeing the potential machinery running everything in the background, is it even possible to just go back to seeing the world the old way without questioning it? Or does seeing the program change the viewer forever? I guess that's for you to decide.